Here's something most men completely miss. When a woman starts acting distant, cold, or unpredictable, you think you're losing her, but what if you're reading the entire situation backwards? You text her, she takes forever to reply. She cancels plans. She brings up other guys. Every instinct screams, she's done, move on. So you either chase harder, trying to win her back, or pull away completely, protecting your ego. Here's what's actually happening. Those behaviors, they're not random. They're not accidents. And they're definitely not what you think they are. There's a pattern most men never recognize. And the ones who do, they never panic over a cold text again. Most men fail at this exact moment because they're reacting to the wrong signal. They see her pulling back and think it means one thing, but it could mean something completely different. And knowing which one you're dealing with, that changes everything. I'm going to show you 7 specific behaviors that reveal what's really going on. Not guesses, not theories. Actual patterns women follow when something specific is happening beneath the surface. And by the end, you'll know exactly how to read any situation without second-guessing yourself. Before we dive into the 7 behaviors, let me be clear about something. This isn't about games. This isn't about manipulation. And this definitely isn't about making excuses for women who genuinely aren't interested. What I'm about to show you is psychology. Real patterns that happen when a woman is actually attracted but doesn't want to show her cards yet. Because here's what most dating advice won't tell you. The way a woman acts when she's genuinely interested in a high-value man looks completely different from how she acts when she's casually interested in just any guy. With most guys, she's easy, she's available, she makes it simple. But with a man she actually sees potential with, she becomes unpredictable, she tests, she watches. And that's not because she's playing games, it's because the stakes are higher. So as we go through these 7 behaviors, I want you to understand something. These aren't signs she's messing with you. They're signs she's evaluating whether you're worth the vulnerability. And that distinction, it changes everything about how you should respond. Here's the problem most men face. You meet a woman. Things start well. There's chemistry, good conversations, maybe a few dates. And then something shifts. She becomes harder to read, less responsive, more distant, and immediately your brain goes into panic mode. You start analyzing everything. Did I text too much? Not enough? Was I too available? Not available enough? You're replaying conversations, looking for the moment you messed up. But here's what you need to understand. When a woman is casually interested in a guy, she doesn't create complexity. She keeps it simple. She's available, she's consistent, she makes it easy because she's not invested enough to care about the outcome. The complexity, the hot and cold, the testing, that only shows up when something deeper is happening, when she's actually trying to figure out if you're someone worth investing in. Most men completely misread this. They see the difficulty and think, she's not that into me. So they either start chasing harder, trying to fix something that isn't broken, or they pull back completely, assuming it's over. Both reactions confirm exactly what she was afraid of, that you can't handle pressure without losing your frame, and that's where the disconnect happens. You think you're losing her. She thinks she's protecting herself, and neither of you realizes what's actually going on beneath the surface. So let me break down exactly what you're about to learn. I'm going to walk you through 7 specific behaviors, things women do that look like disinterest or rejection, but actually signal the opposite. And these aren't random. They follow a pattern, a progression that shows you exactly where you stand. The first 3 behaviors, they're surface level, things you can spot right away if you know what you're looking for. The middle 2, they show deeper investment. And the final 2, they reveal obsession-level thinking. The kind that only happens when a woman can't get you out of her head. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what each behavior means, why it happens, and how to respond without losing your power. No more guessing, no more overthinking, just clarity. Behavior number 1, the hot-cold pattern. And if you've experienced this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One day, she's warm, engaged, laughing at your jokes, texting back quickly, making plans, and you're thinking, okay, this is going well. Then suddenly, it shifts. She goes cold, short replies, takes hours to respond, seems distant, and you're left wondering, what the hell changed? Here's what's actually happening. When a woman does this hot-cold cycle with you, she's not losing interest. She's managing her own anxiety about how much she's starting to care. Think about it. When you're genuinely falling for someone, it's scary. You feel vulnerable. So what do? You pull back to protect yourself. You create distance to regain control. That's what she's doing. The warmth, that's her real feelings showing through. The cold, that's her fear of those feelings kicking in. She's literally battling herself. One part wants to let you in, the other part is terrified of what that means. Now here's the key. Women who don't care about you, they don't cycle, they're just consistently lukewarm or they disappear entirely. It's clean. But the hot-cold pattern, that's emotional chaos. And emotional chaos only happens when someone is deeply invested, but scared of that investment. So what do you do when you see this? Nothing. You stay steady. You don't chase the warmth when it appears. You don't punish the cold when it shows up. You just remain exactly who you are. Because that steadiness, that's what she's actually testing for. Can you handle her emotional waves without losing yourself? That's the real question. If you recognize this pattern in your situation, keep watching. Because the next behavior confirms it. Behavior number 2. She tests your boundaries, and this one catches most men completely off guard. Here's what it looks like. She cancels plans last minute. She takes unusually long to text back, even though you know she saw your message. She gives minimal effort in conversations. She might even do things that seem slightly disrespectful, like mentioning she's busy with other plans, but not offering to reschedule. And if you're like most guys, you're thinking one of two things. Either she's not that interested, so you start chasing harder to win her back, or she's disrespecting me, so you pull away or call her out on it. Both reactions, that's exactly what she wanted to see, because here's what's really happening. She's not testing whether you like her. She already knows that. What she's testing is whether you need her. Big difference. Women are deeply attracted to men who have their own frame, their own life, their own sense of value that isn't dependent on her response. But how do you figure out if a guy actually has that? You test him. You pull back. You create a little friction, and you watch what he does. Does he panic? Does he start overcompensating, sending multiple texts, trying to explain himself? That's neediness. That's a guy whose emotional state is controlled by her attention. Red flag? Or does he stay cool? Does he give space without being butthurt about it? Does he maintain his own life and let her come back on her own time? That's a man with options. That's someone who doesn't crumble when she's not available. Green light, green. So when you see this behavior, understand what it is. It's not rejection. It's qualification. She's figuring out if you're high value or if you're just putting on an act. And the only way to pass this test, don't react. Just live your life like her attention is nice but not necessary. That's the energy that makes her chase. But it gets even more interesting with the next behavior. Behavior number 3. She mentions other guys, and this one drives men absolutely crazy. She'll casually drop that some guy texted her, or that her ex reached out, or that someone hit on her at the gym. It's never a big deal in how she says it, just a casual mention, but you feel it. That little spike of jealousy, that little voice asking, wait, should I be worried? And here's where most men mess up. They either pretend they don't care, overcompensating with fake indifference, or they react, asking questions, getting defensive, showing that it bothered them. Both responses reveal the same thing. You're threatened. You're thinking about her with other guys. Mission accomplished on her part. Because that's exactly what she wanted. Not to make you jealous for the sake of it, but to see if you value her enough to feel something when she brings up other men. Think about it from her perspective. If you didn't care about her, you wouldn't care who else is in the picture. You'd be completely unaffected. But if you do care, if you see her as valuable, the mention of competition creates a reaction, even if you try to hide it. Now, I'm not saying women do this consciously as some calculated manipulation. Often, it's subconscious. She's gauging your investment level by seeing if the idea of losing her to someone else means anything to you. It's a way of asking, "Do I matter to you?" without actually asking. But here's the key. Women who genuinely don't care about a guy, they don't bother with this. They don't talk about other guys because your reaction is irrelevant to them. But when she's invested, when your opinion of her matters, she's fishing for information about how you see her. The correct response? Amused indifference. Not fake indifference, that comes across as defensive, but genuine abundance mentality. Like, yeah, you're attractive, of course guys approach you. That's expected. It doesn't threaten me because I know my value. That response? That's what separates you from every other guy who either chased or pretended too hard not to care. Most men completely miss this signal. But here's the one that reveals real investment. Behavior number 4. And this is where things get really interesting. She analyzes your behavior. Everything you do, everything you say, every pattern you follow. She'll ask questions about why you did something. She'll notice when your texting pattern changes. She'll read into your words, trying to figure out what you really meant. She'll reference things you said weeks ago, showing she's been paying attention to details most people forget. And if you've been sitting there anxious about her behavior, wondering if she's into you or not, here's what you need to realize. She's doing the exact same thing. She's analyzing you with the same intensity you're analyzing her. Because here's the truth that nobody talks about. High investment creates high analysis. When you don't care about someone, you don't think about them. You don't study their patterns. You don't try to decode their behavior. But when someone matters, you become obsessed with understanding them. So when she's dissecting your every move, trying to figure out if you're genuinely interested or just playing games, questioning your intentions, reading between the lines of your texts, that's not suspicion. That's investment. She's thinking about you constantly. And people who think about you constantly, they care. Most men see this and think she's being difficult or dramatic. They get frustrated by the questions, the analysis, the need for clarity. But what they're missing is the deeper truth. She wouldn't need clarity if she didn't care about the answer. She wouldn't analyze your behavior if you didn't occupy significant space in her thoughts. And here's the real power shift. You've been worried about reading her signals, but she's equally worried about reading yours. You think you're the only one uncertain about where this is going, but she's just as uncertain, just as anxious, just as invested in figuring out what you're thinking. The moment you recognize that, everything changes. Because you realize the dynamic isn't you chasing her validation, it's both of you trying to protect yourselves while simultaneously wanting something real. That's not a game. That's just two people who actually care, both trying not to get hurt. That realization alone should shift how you see everything. But the next 3 behaviors show you just how deep this goes. Behavior number 5. She stalks your social media. And I mean really stalks it. She's watching your stories without liking your posts. She knows who you were with last weekend even though you didn't tell her. She references something you posted weeks ago in a casual conversation, revealing she's been paying attention way more than she lets on. And here's what makes this behavior so revealing. Social media stalking takes time. It takes consistent attention. It takes care. You don't monitor someone's digital life unless they're on your mind regularly. Think about people you're not interested in. Do you check their social media? Do you care who they're with or what they're doing? No. You scroll past without a second thought. But someone you're attracted to? Someone you're trying to figure out? You're looking for clues, information, any insight into their life that helps you understand them better. That's what she's doing. She's gathering intelligence without wanting to reveal how much she actually cares. Because liking posts, commenting, that shows her hand. But quietly watching, That lets her stay invested while maintaining plausible deniability. And when she brings up something you posted, seemingly casual, but oddly specific, that's not an accident. She's letting you know, subtly, that she's paying attention. It's a way of saying, I'm thinking about you, without actually saying it. The key here is recognizing the pattern. Once or twice might be coincidence, but consistent monitoring? That's obsession-level thinking. That's someone who wants to be part of your world but isn't ready to fully admit it yet. Most men don't even notice this behavior because it's so covert. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it completely reframes what's actually happening. But here's where it gets even more obvious. Behavior number 6. She creates opportunities to be near you. And this one happens almost unconsciously. If you're at a party, she ends up in your vicinity more than coincidence would explain. If you're in a group setting, she positions herself where she can see you. She finds reasons to be in your physical space, whether that's your neighborhood, your usual spots, or places she knows you frequent. And it looks casual. She's not obviously following you around, but if you pay attention to the pattern, she's creating way more coincidental run-ins than probability would suggest. Because here's what's happening on a deeper level. When we're attracted to someone, our bodies want to be near them. It's primal. It's biological. You don't consciously decide to gravitate towards someone, you just do. And she's no different. So when she randomly shows up at your gym, your coffee shop, your friend's event, even though she has plenty of other options, that's not random. Her subconscious is pulling her into your orbit because proximity feels good when you're attracted to someone. And here's the tell. She might act surprised to see you. She might play it casual. But watch how often it happens. Once? Could be coincidence. Twice? Maybe. But 3, 4, 5 times? That's a pattern. That's deliberate behavior, wrapped in plausible deniability. This is actually one of the strongest signals because it requires real effort. It's easy to like a photo or send a text. But physically showing up in someone's space? That takes planning. That takes time. That takes someone who wants to be around you badly enough to make it happen. Most men don't recognize this pattern because they're too focused on digital signals. But physical proximity? That's the body revealing what the mind won't admit. And that brings us to the final behavior, the one that confirms everything. Behavior number 7. She remembers everything, and I mean everything. She recalls that random story you told 3 weeks ago. She knows your coffee order. She remembers the name of your childhood dog that you mentioned once in passing. Small details that most people would forget, she's locked them in. And this isn't about having a good memory. It's about selective attention. Our brains prioritize information based on importance. We remember what matters to us. We forget what doesn't. So when she's remembering tiny details about your life, that's her brain telling you something her mouth won't. You're important enough that everything connected to you gets filed away as valuable information. Think about someone you're not interested in. Do you remember their preferences, their stories, their details? No, because your brain doesn't flag that information as worth storing. But someone you care about, someone you're attracted to, every little thing they say gets logged because it all feels significant. That's what she's doing. She's building a complete picture of who you are because she's genuinely invested in understanding you. And people who invest in understanding you, they're not planning to walk away. Now that you've seen all 7 behaviors, here's the truth most men never realize. So here's the controversial truth nobody tells you. The more intense these behaviors are, the more she wants you. When a woman is casually interested, she doesn't test. She doesn't analyze. She doesn't go hot and cold. She keeps it light because the stakes are low. She's not worried about getting hurt because she's not that invested. But when she's genuinely falling for someone, when she sees real potential, the intensity kicks in, the testing escalates, the analysis deepens, because now there's something to lose. Now vulnerability is on the table, and that's terrifying. So she tests harder, watches closer, creates more distance to see if you'll chase, all because the outcome actually matters to her. Now, I know how this sounds. like making excuses for difficult behavior. But think about it. How do you act when you're genuinely interested but terrified of showing it? You probably pull back sometimes, test their investment, analyze their behavior, trying to figure out if they feel the same way. We all do this. It's not manipulation, it's self-protection, it's the human response to vulnerability. Here's what separates men who thrive from men who struggle. The ones who thrive recognize what's happening. They see testing as proof of investment. They don't take hot cold personally. They understand complexity means she cares. The men who struggle, they see difficulty and assume rejection. They need everything easy. And the moment she creates friction, they either chase desperately or walk away. Both responses prove exactly what she feared, that you can't handle her when she's not at her best. Ask yourself this: how many of these 7 behaviors have you seen? Multiple? Then you're not dealing with someone who's lost interest. You're dealing with someone trying to protect themselves while hoping you're worth the risk. So let me ask you, which of these 7 behaviors have you experienced? The hot-cold pattern? The boundary testing? Maybe she mentions other guys or analyzes everything you do? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one and I want to know what you're dealing with. Because here's the thing, this video isn't just about understanding female psychology. It's about helping men navigate relationships with more confidence and less anxiety. And when you start recognizing these patterns for what they actually are, everything shifts. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop panicking over every cold text. You start seeing the bigger picture. And if you found this helpful, I've got more content coming that breaks down exactly how to respond to each of these behaviors. How to maintain your frame when she tests. How to handle the hot-cold without losing your mind. How to read situations with complete clarity so you always know where you stand. But right now, I want to hear from you. How many of these signs are showing up in your situation? Because understanding female psychology isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's about seeing the truth behind the behavior so you can respond from a place of strength instead of insecurity. You're not crazy for being confused. These behaviors are confusing, but now you have a framework. Now you know what you're looking at. And that knowledge, that's power. That's the difference between men who stay stuck in their heads and men who move forward with confidence. Drop your experience in the comments. Let's figure this out together.